Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about a video called Halloween Feels Different Now. I believe the guy's name is Lee Lewis or something like that. I'll make sure to put the channel into the description. So I wanted to talk about it getting close to Halloween, and wanted to kind of tell you my feelings about how I think Halloween is and where it's going and kind of how it used to be when I was growing up. So I think it'd be a fun video to kind of get into based on, it's October. So I have seen a lot of differences lately with Halloween in the last few years or so that I'm noticing, especially now that I have my own kids. So let's get into the video. I'm excited to go over this one.
For You page is like all these sad videos of y'all sitting outside of your house saying,
"There's no trick-or-treaters."
My husband and I got so much candy.
I haven't lived in this house long enough, so we don't know if anyone's coming tonight.
I just bought a lot in case.
Like bracelet, I thought they were gonna be super happy.
I have all this candy.
Why are no kids showing up to my house?
No one came trick-or-treating and I have all this candy.
I have no trick-or-treaters.
And no one came. No one passed by.
It's been an hour and there's still no one.
Like, does nobody trick or treat?
We were so excited to pass out the candy and just no one came. Do people not trick-or-treat anymore? I don't get it.
If you're an adult now, there's a very
Before we get into it, if that ever does happen, sometimes I'm usually kind of happy because I'm a sugar freak, so I just know that I'm going to have a ton of candy for myself. I know that sucks, but it's just, I love candy, so whenever that happens, at least there's a little bit of good that came after it. I get to eat it, so, but yeah, I'm a big candy addict, so if that ever does happen, at least, somebody's happy.
good chance you've noticed that something has been off about Halloween lately. The general vibe of it has not been the same since you were a kid at all. But the reason for that is much more than simply just growing up. It seems like the spirit of Halloween in general has been weakening. Of course, everyone's experiences are different, but it can't be denied that there has been a mood shift over the years. I've scoured the internet, looked through comment threads, and even conducted a survey in my own community about this. And I keep seeing the same patterns showing up, seeing the same things said over and over again. At some point for everyone, Halloween stopped hitting the same, and they've since been chasing those good feelings of the holiday they once loved so much. So let's look into why that is, and if you're one of the people that feel like this, I hope by the end of this video I'll be able to offer you that perspective so you can enjoy this spooky season even more. The majority of my Halloween experiences were in the 2000s. Like a lot of other people, I remember not being able to go to sleep the night before because of how excited I was. I remember dressing up and wearing my costume to school, where the classroom was heavily decorated and there were tons of themed activities for us to do all day. Right afterwards, there'd be that anticipation. Only a few hours until we all went door to door. Candy galore, eyes widening, seeing all the houses at night fully
Growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, especially the 90s when you were a kid, that it was just like that. It was kind of like its own little Christmas in a way. You put on your costume and you would go to school. You would have a bunch of candy. You would have a bunch of kids with their costumes passing out candy as well. It was really fun. I don't know if they still do that now. I'm not sure, because with the whole mask thing and just children's safety or something, maybe they don't want people masked up or anything like that. But yeah, it was like that where you were excited. I don't know if I ever was able not to sleep. I know on Christmas I was able not to sleep, but with Halloween, yeah, it was like that. It was super fun, and I'll let them kind of continue into this video about talking about kind of the differences when it came to trick-or-treating, though.
decorated. And then I'd come back home, going through my collection of sweets while a Halloween cartoon special was on the TV.
That
was the life. And it was what I looked forward to every single year. And now, it's not anything like that at all. Again, obviously, that's a given considering we're grown up now. But there are a lot of other factors that go into Halloween feeling different. First of all, an adult Halloween will of course not be the same as the setting changes from trick-or-treating to drinking at bars or parties. There tends to not be that much candy involved, but at least the Halloween aesthetics are still around. Fun fact, from my survey, the overwhelming number of people that still celebrate Halloween as adults still dress up for it. So that was really good to hear. But let's pull back a bit and look at the lead up to the holiday. Something I've been noticing a lot is what I like to call the war on Halloween. Forget all that war on Christmas stuff because this is the real holiday that's been consistently attacked. Over the years, in a variety of retail stores, the distance between Christmas Day and when Christmas supplies are put up grows even longer and longer. It used to be normal seeing them up on display mid-November, and then it slowly crept into mid-October. And now they start showing...
I've noticed that too, like, it starts in August, where we're at. Just Christmas decorations, the trees are already out, ornaments and everything, like in Walmart, or if you go to, like, Home Goods, or, what's that one store, Hobby Lobby has a lot of that too, and I just think it's too soon. I think that even just, like, when they start the Christmas music right after Halloween, I just think it's too soon. I know that, companies are trying to make their money and as much money as possible, but it's just, after a while, you just get so burnt out. It's kind of like if you start Christmas too early, you get like too burnt out by Christmas, and I don't like that. That's why a lot of people kind of tend to just want to do Christmas right after Thanksgiving. At least I kind of want to, I want to kind of start Christmas, maybe around my birthday, which is around November 16th. Like, the 12th through the 16th, I think that's a great time to start early. If you are going to do it early, around that time would be a good time. Anything before that, I just think it's just getting a little too soon. I know, just because I think Halloween is still a big holiday and everything like that, so... But people start Halloween even earlier now. They're starting Halloween, I think, at the late August, into August, when it used to kind of just be like a late September, October thing. Now people are starting it in August, I feel. And even that might be a little too soon, but I think people are kind of starting to realize that, hey, September's here, let's kind of get ready for Halloween. So yeah, I have noticed that Christmas is starting earlier, and I think I don't think that's a good idea. People are going to start getting burnt out too much, so... Christmas, that's another thing I want to make a video about later, down the road, just the kind of burnt out from Christmas too, especially as we get older.
Up in September, and in some cases, even as early as August. The reason being that Christmas is the biggest money-making holiday around. Naturally, retailers want to get in on that market early, as a good chunk of people do buy in advance. They're more willing to purchase Christmas stuff early compared to in December, a month where they're already spending a lot of money. Either way, having that stuff up right next to the Halloween section does sort of dampen the mood. It might be an exaggeration, but it's like you're being reminded that Halloween isn't that big of a deal anymore. That's compounded by the perception that there's a severe lack of trick-or-treaters now. A big reason for all of this is the pandemic. At a time where social distancing was advised, people still tried to make it work. Doing stuff like making pipes to slide candy down, or just leaving bowls of candy out near the sidewalk. But lots of families understandably opted out of trick-or-treating altogether, not wanting to take the risk. In the years after 2020, there was a concerning trend that a significant amount of people were leaning towards.
Hosting their first trunk or treat event for local children.
Second annual trunk or treat event.
Before we get into that, so I'll kind of go into how trick-or-treating was for me growing up and just kind of like the early kind of millennials growing up. So I was born in 1988, so I would say the mid-90s to early 2000s was when I was trick-or-treating. I think I stopped trick-or-treating in 2003, I believe, was the last time I actually went trick-or-treating. So growing up in like the mid 90s, early 2000s, like it was way different kind of how it is now. Kids were everywhere. When I say everywhere, they were everywhere. They were dressed up in great costumes, handmade costumes, or if they weren't handmade, they were great. They made costumes great back in the day. Now I feel like they make them very cheap now. They made very good costumes, I feel, back in the day, even for like department stores. Um, the costumes were great. Kids would walk around. I don't know if you remember. You see them a lot during the 4th of July. The glow sticks. Kids would have like a ton of glow sticks in their hand, around their neck. They would walk around with glow sticks. And like I said, kids were everywhere. And growing up in Arizona, trick or treating started at 5:30 p.m. and ended at 9:30, sometimes 10 o'clock at night. And if it was on the weekend, sometimes it even went to like 10:30. Like that's insane. That's really late compared to now. Nowadays, it goes from like 5:30 or 6 o'clock to like 8 p.m. And like I said, it went late. I remember like my brother and I, when we would go trick or treating, like we would have to legit go back to our house to empty out the candy because we had so much. We would have like these really like big pillow sacks, and we would have to go back to our house just to empty the candy to be able to go out again because it was just so heavy. Literally, if you hit somebody, you'll give them a concussion. That's how heavy these bags were, these pillowcases were. Like I said, kids were everywhere. And it was just so fun. It was just, like I said, it was just a blast. Just the movies were great. The decorations weren't over the top, scary like nowadays. Everything is just very like some people like go all out and everything, which is fine. But decorations weren't like crazy like how they are now. I'm pretty sure I read an article that said like Halloween's like revenue has gone up like a crap ton, and I do believe that because now you see people in neighborhoods, they got like what is like I don't know, 25-foot tall like Jack Skellington like statue looking things, or they got Michael Myers, Pennywise the clown. They got all this stuff, and it doesn't look like cheap stuff. And but back in the day when I was growing up, it was just kind of like silly stuff, like Halloween, that stuff that I like pumpkins, witches, just kind of like stuff that's not like super gory. It's not super. Halloween now is just kind of getting kind of gross with their decorations, at least in my opinion. I'm not like, I don't like hate the gore stuff, but sometimes it kind of freaks me out a little bit. But like now, like people are like going insane with kind of the gore and stuff like that with their decorations. But yeah, like I said, growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, the movie, they had so many great Halloween specials for cartoons. The movies were like, we still had like Michael Myers movies still coming out. Scream was making their movies. I Know What You Did Last Summer was kind of like one of those like movies that you could kind of consider maybe sometimes a Halloween. Goosebumps, like just kind of different things that made Halloween great. And the difference between now and like when I take my kids trick-or-treating, I got 3 kids, and it's sad because when we go trick-or-treating, we'll go into like the neighborhood we go into is a pretty like nice neighborhood, and there's literally no kids at all. I'm telling you, like maybe a little bit, but not like how when I was growing up. When I was growing up, you would see kids just everywhere. A ton of kids. Now you barely see anybody. It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. And like I said, I don't think this is like, maybe 10 years ago is maybe when this started happening, I feel. Maybe 10, 15 years ago when you started slowly seeing the kids not be there as much. And based on, maybe people are not having more kids. Like they're gonna go over now, trunk or treater, the whole trunk or treat thing, for people that maybe don't want to celebrate Halloween. Maybe this is like a different alternative. Safety wise, I think, back in the day, it was always kind of the scarce of like people would put drugs in the candy or razor blades. To be honest, like I don't think drug addicts would give up their drugs to do that, but I don't know. People are kind of crazy out there. It was mainly like razor blades or something like that, or just people out there that are predators or something like that. Maybe that's why. That's gone a lot higher. Maybe that's why there's not a lot of trick-or-treaters, just because of the safety concerns and everything like that associated with it. Because, like I said, safety wise in this world has gone up a ton as well when it comes to different things in life. So, it was a different time, man. It was just a crazy different time. It was a lot of fun. I wish I can go back to it just because trick-or-treating was fun. I just remember just pouring out I probably can eat the candy for like 2 or 3 months. And with the amount that we got, maybe, something like that. I used to eat a lot of candy, still do. So, let's get back into the video though and just kind of see what else they say.
Again, preps are still underway for the Fall Trunk or Treat Festival.
Kids will be going car to car to get candy, prizes, games, and so much more.
What it is how it sounds. In packed parking lots, the cars have their trunks open, and the kids go up to them to get candy. That's about it. Compared to actual trick-or-treating, it's much milder, to say the least. Yeah, the trunks are sometimes decorated, but it's just not the same. It feels like something that was invented out of spite towards the holiday. It's an event where the kids wait in long lines to get as much candy as possible in the shortest amount of time, using the least amount of effort. So it's no surprise that homeowner organizations have been consistently pushing for these kinds of events over traditional trick-or-treating. I've never been to one of these, but according to people who filled out my survey, it seems to be a lot more of a depressing sight than footage can capture, as the vibes are just simply not there. The Halloween spirit is largely absent, as there are also lots of kids who don't even dress up for it. Another reason why there
used to back when I was growing up, I'll kind of talk while this ad's going.
Corporate power move.
Back when I was growing up,
like
that
direct eye contact.
Trunk or treat thing didn't really exist, I don't think.
Another reason why there
I didn't hear about trunk or treat until I met my wife. She kind of was the first one to tell me about trunk or treat. I'm like, what's trunk or treat? And she just basically said it's like where people will go to like churches and open up their trunk and there's candy and other stuff like that. I'm like, oh really? And she was like telling me, yeah, this is kind of like a different alternative, like for Christians or people that don't really want to go and have their kids kind of go celebrate Halloween based on kind of like the negative press of Halloween, a satanic holiday, the rumors of it being a satanic holiday, which I don't believe that was it was never created to be a satanic holiday. I think eventually it just turned into kind of like the rumor of it being, the devil's holiday and stuff like that. So a lot of Christians kind of wanted to do that instead, to kind of like not tell their kids, hey, let's not trick or treat. At least it gave them an option to be able to dress up, go get candy without it kind of being like they're participating in something that could be considered evil, kind of thing. So like I said, I never heard of it until I came out here. So yeah, different things for safety, easier and stuff like that. Doesn't sound like a bad idea. I mean, if you're a kid and you want to be able to dress up and the goal is to get as much candy as possible for the night, I mean, this is still a decent idea. It's not traditional in a way, but it's still I still don't think it's a bad thing.
Treating is because, quite
Especially
simply,
with me
there are
being a
less
Christian.
younger people that are owning homes. The older generation of homeowners are aging out, so they're not able to participate in the way that they used to. Of course, we as adults aren't the ones going trick-or-treating for our own candy, but still, the concept of it is such an important part of the holiday. Seeing the decorated streets full of families all dressed up, and witnessing that environment dwindling is just discouraging. Imagine what it's like to be a lucky new homeowner that's really excited about finally being the one that's giving out candy, to finally be the one setting up all the cool decorations, to finally be on the other side of that door, and to only be met with a handful of visitors, if any. That honestly breaks my heart, and that leads to my next point. Now that we're older, the magic of Halloween is harder to obtain because now we have to be the ones to put in that effort. When we were kids, the magic that we experienced, all those good memories, that was a result of the effort of adults. And now it's our turn. I'm sure all of you have aged out of trick-or-treating, but maybe you were still in...
That's another thing too, you know, with people growing up and having houses and stuff like that. Like, people were able to like hand out candy. If you have like an apartment, you can hand out candy, but a lot of the people will just go to the neighborhoods and pass out candy. A lot of millennials, a lot of like older Gen Z, they don't have houses, so they're not going to be able to pass out candy. And a lot of these boomers, they're probably not going to, they might pass out candy, but maybe a lot of them are just getting older and they don't want to deal with it or anything like that, or maybe they're not physically able to. So that could be a possibility too. So he makes a good point there. If you live in an apartment, if you live in other places where you really can't do it, then you're probably not going to like keep that tradition going. So I think he makes a good point there.
Involved in some way, like taking the younger members of your family trick-or-treating or helping with their costumes. But now that you're an adult, it's difficult to put that same effort into yourself. Life gets in the way of that. Even people who still celebrate the holiday have a hard time maintaining that Halloween spirit all throughout the month. It was a lot easier to be excited non-stop as a child, where your biggest worry was a math test next week. For everyone that has celebrated as a kid, there has been a split, a moment in time where you realize that Halloween has changed. For most, myself included, it's around high school. That's when you get too old to trick-or-treat, but you're not an adult yet. In terms of Halloween celebrations, high school kids can't really do kid stuff, and they can't...
I hate that there's an age limit for trick-or-treating. To be honest, like, I would love to go with my wife and just dress up and get candy. That sounds awesome, man. I know it just doesn't seem like the thing, but I would love to just still be able to do that. I would love just to be able to get free candy, you know what I mean? So, but, yeah, there's that thing, there's that as well. I was trying to make a good point of something that he said. Hold on, let me see if he's going to go on to it. And I'll
really do adult stuff either. It's also that same time period where they have more to worry about. It's when life first starts getting in the way. This is where the disinterest to the holiday forms, as the Halloween spirit is stifled during these years. And for those who still try to keep that spirit going during this time, they see all their friends who they used to celebrate with stop showing up to their Halloween get-togethers. Everyone is just too busy with their own thing. And so, in a case of following the crowd, that person who once persisted just gives in. Because everyone else is growing up, so why shouldn't they?
Oh, here's the point I was trying to make, is that, you know, besides, like, you know, being able to just kind of... I think people still love Halloween. People, like, I'll see a ton of Halloween decorations and people in the Halloween spirit or anything like that, but when it comes to, like, the other stuff, when it comes to buying things for Halloween, like, when it comes to, like, candy and costumes and stuff, I think that's where it gets hard. You know, like 3 bags of candy nowadays is probably going to cost you, like, I don't even know, like maybe 20, 25 bucks. And people don't have that money just to be just doing that, you know, for others sometimes. People do it, but at the same time, let's say you get more than that. And just with how the economy is and stuff like that, you're not going to be able to do that just because you don't have the money. You can't even support yourself. So how can you kind of help, you know, fulfill somebody else's happiness that day when it comes to making sure that you could pay your bills that month or be able to kind of give your kids lunch money for the evening? You know, you do make it possible. It's not like that much money, but at the same time, sometimes you're just that broke in that moment where you just don't have the money to be able to do it or even get a good costume. I remember, you know, right around kind of the mid-2000s and stuff when I was starting to get older, when I was just kind of like, oh, I don't really care about what I go as. I went like as Ghostface for like 3 years. I just put on the mask and just went as Ghostface. I did that as well just because my parents were kind of struggling with money, I believe, and I just didn't want to like ask for a costume as well. Just didn't think they had the money. But at the same time, I didn't, at that point in my life, I didn't think I really cared going as something else. I just wanted just the candy. So I just wanted to make an effort. I remember my dad, when he just handed out candy, if he didn't see anybody that came up wearing a costume, he would give them a chicle, those Mexican gum or whatever. He would throw that to them, or like little rocks or something like that, just because he wanted to see a little effort, you know what I mean? So at least I put on my mask and like some type of like gray and black kind of like thing to make it seem like I was trying. Some kids don't even try. But yeah, that's what he used to do whenever he used to see that. He would just give him like chicle and little rocks from our yard. So, but yeah, people, it's just how the economy is now with inflation. People can't even afford like candy to pass out to people. It's really sad.
That type of thing is what happened to me. And I know I'm not alone here. In my survey, there was someone who wrote about something that happened in middle school. A downhearted recalling of when they were out trick-or-treating by themselves, and they just got really sad because they weren't having fun anymore. They were all alone. So they just cut the night short and went home early. Allow me here to be a little bit of a doomer, but there tends to be a general feeling of depression with getting older. That's especially the case nowadays. People get caught up and focused on school, work, family, dealing with monthly bills, or paying off debt. It's sometimes a struggle to just find a moment of peace. So it's no wonder that our anticipation of Halloween has lowered. There are a lot of other things in our lives that we have to take care of, that take.
Thanks to this waterfront hotel on Booking.com,
Yeah.
even Yankees
He's not
fans
wrong-
are
he's not
loving
wrong
Boston.
about that, you know,
no,
just how
we're keeping
things
tabs
are and everything.
that
Like
take
depression is probably at
priority.
an all-time high if I had to take a guess. I don't know the numbers for statistics, but I'm sure that depression and anxiety is at its all-time high. It's just hard for people to get excited about holidays, you know, or anything now. Sadly, you kind of want to, but sometimes you just are just in a state of mind where you just don't really want to. You can't focus on anything but just trying to survive. Like holidays and everything like that, that's just kind of like, you know, you'll think about that later.
And real quick, by the way, if your work is mostly at your computer, I gotta tell you about Elgato's.
So, in conclusion with this video, he makes a lot of great points about all this. It does feel different, especially when, you know, growing up, I could only tell you about my experiences in the 90s and early 2000s. It has changed. It definitely has. There's less trick-or-treaters. There's less people participating, I feel. People still love the movies and the buying stuff like decorations for Halloween, but it's weird because like people get into Halloween, but they're not really like participating in kind of like the big thing that makes Halloween, and that's just kind of like the trick-or-treating thing like that. So like I said, it's lack of kids. I know that birth rates are down as well. Safety concerns. You know, people are crazier than ever, so maybe they're just kind of like maybe resorting to trunk-or-treating instead of like actual trick-or-treating. So, like I said, growing up in the 90s, 2000s, the only thing that my mom or dad kind of looked out for was kind of like maybe razor blades or something like that. I don't think people were stupid to put drugs in there. Like I said, I don't think drug dealers are going to do that anyway because they're not going to spend their money on putting drugs in other people's stuff. They're going to use it to take themselves. But yeah, razor blades and, you know, creeps weren't out. Creeps in the 90s and early 2000s weren't as how it was now. Now it's just kind of like you hear, like I listen to Mr. Nightmare and like Chilling Scares and all those creepypasta things or whatever, and you just hear those Halloween stories where the creep is trying to lure the kid into the house or something like that. So there could be parents out there trying to make sure that their safety of their kids with that as well. So it has changed, and I hope it kind of gets back to the kind of how it is. Do I see that happening? Probably not. I think sadly it's just going to get a lot worse, especially with the birth rates plummeting, families are plummeting, and inflation. You can't even buy candy. You can't even buy a lot of candy to pass out to people without. If you do pass out something, you literally, if you buy 3 bags of candy, you'll be done in like, I think we did that like a couple years ago. my wife and I, and we ran out in like within 45 minutes, and that was just 3 bags. 3 bags of candy was still like maybe 15-20 bucks. We couldn't go any higher at that time. We have 3 kids. We just got our house. You know, we had bills to pay, so we couldn't really do as much. So, but yeah, anyway, this was a great video. Go check out, I think his name is Luis. I will link him down in the description for you to go check out his channel. Give him a like, give him a follow. This is the first video I think I've come across for him. So, but yeah, if you like this content, subscribe to the channel. I'll be making more videos like this in the future. Like the video so it lets YouTube know that it could pass it along to somebody else. Thank you for watching, and take care, guys. I'll see you in the next one.